Let's get into it now. A spoiler-free movie review of a Minecraft movie starring Jack Black, Jason Momoa, directed by Jared Hess, who also directed movies like Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre. And I did not expect to be so inspired by such a family-friendly movie of a video game I didn't even play. All the young people in the comments who are going to be like, "You boomer, you haven't played Minecraft." And I'm getting at that age now where I'm aged out of some of the video game adaptations now. We have Jack Black, who is just doing every video game property that's being made into a movie. He also did Borderlands, he did Jumanji, and I think out of all those, this has been his best to date. What this movie is about, you get four misfits thrown into the overworld with the purpose of saving it. Jack Black plays the character Steve, who is the main guy in Minecraft. He aspired to work as a miner as a kid, didn't get to live out that dream until he was an adult, got thrown into the overworld as he discovered this cube that's kind of like the Tesseract from Avengers, which I got a lot of Avengers 1 vibes from Minecraft. Met a dog, got captured by these pig-like creatures, and then was stuck there for years, much like Jumanji. This movie is kind of a mix of Avengers and Jumanji because where you had the Tesseract in the Avengers, you have the cube here that they are trying to find again in order to open the portal back into the world. His dog escapes, takes the portal back to his house, and eventually lands into the hands of Jason Momoa, who plays a character named Garbage Man, who was the best video game player in the world in 1989 and has hung on to that ever since. You have a kid named Henry with his sister who lost their mom, so they are moving to a new town to start a new life. She is going to work as a social media manager for a potato chip company, and he is a very bright, smart kid, doesn't really get along with people, but he has a real creative and inventive mind. He gets into some trouble, has to call Jason Momoa for help to try to get him out of it. They reunite with the cube and all get thrown into the overworld where our journey begins. This movie surprisingly had a lot of heart, and I could tell from the director Jared Hess that he knows how to make a movie. Because when you take a property like Minecraft, the best-selling video game of all time, which is wild to me, I was always aware of Minecraft and what you have to do in the video game. I just never played it myself. Essentially, it is a sandbox game where the game is what you make it. It is only limited by your creativity to build things, to fight things, and that was inspiring to me. I just never really got into it. But after watching this movie, I just felt like this is such a big inspiration piece for kids to find joy in and for kids to flourish in their creativity. And that is really what this movie is all about. Jack Black's character is larger than life, and sometimes I feel like he gets criticized a little bit for being so exuberant. And I don't feel like his character was showcased properly in the trailer, at least to the adults who kind of have to be won over by a movie like this, because in the movie theater, the kids were ecstatic, and I'd never seen that before. Whenever you first hear Steve say, "I am Steve," that was essentially this generation's Avengers Assemble. That is the movie quote of the year. Everybody went nuts for that moment. And that was in the trailer. That speaks volumes to me about the relationship that people have with this property. And this is one of those movies that you could have put anything on the screen because it's a huge IP. It was going to crush opening weekend no matter what, because the fan base was there and they were going to go see it and they were going to go love it just because it was seeing something that they've spent so much time with, playing this video game, come to life. And it was cool seeing those moments pop in the theater, even though they didn't fully land with me because I don't really know the lore that is Minecraft. But to see everybody else experiencing that, it made me feel that I realized there was chemical reactions happening in the theater to these kids' brains, that this is going to be a very significant moment for them. I remember those, having moments like that back in the theater, or even watching movies for the first time at home. The movies that changed me, the movies that inspired me. This is definitely going to be one of those movies, and I think it's going to be the harsh older critics who are beating this movie to hell because on paper, it's probably not what you would consider to be a quote-unquote good movie. If I went to this movie just for the plot alone, I do think it's there. I really do believe it. Because it has a story, it has character development. The only thing I feel as an adult that is hard for me to overcome and just fully enjoy it is some of the performances that have to be so over the top. Some of the dialogue is overly cheesy and at times a little bit cringeworthy when if you take it out of context like they did in the trailer, you think train wreck all over this thing because the characters themselves are very cartoony. Jason Momoa's character and really all the characters, they're really just portraying a live action animated movie because for the most part, you really only have four humans in this movie. Jason Momoa as the garbage man, Jack Black as Steve, Emma Myers as Natalie, who was also in Wednesday, which it took me a moment to realize, oh, that's her. Danielle Brooks, who you might remember from Orange is the New Black, also gets sucked into the overworld. And then you have Sebastian Hansen, who plays Henry. Those are the four main humans. You also have Jennifer Coolidge, who really only sticks to the real world and kind of has a whole B plot going on. So I also feel like by having these four characters being the only ones you can interact with, and they're interacting with these fictional cubic characters, it's obviously going to cause for a little bit of clunky dialogue. I did enjoy the visuals in the overworld. At times, I wish they were a little bit more rich. There are moments that lacked a little bit of depth for me, and there were shots that were clearly just Jack Black behind a green screen, or probably the flying scenes where it just felt like they had a wind machine and the green screen was in the background. And those moments looked a little bit just hard to believe and really broke that illusion for me of the overworld, which at times looked really fun and vibrant. I loved all the fire. I loved all the chase scenes. I loved the scenes at night with the creepers coming out. There were some pretty good battle scenes. I loved the moments they were creating all the weapons. I thought all those moments looked really good. But sometimes when the action got a little bit too big, the special effects and animations really took a downgrade. And I feel like that was the biggest struggle of this movie. And also for a movie that is a Minecraft movie all about creativity and building, I thought there should have been a little bit more building because the first act really won me over with the story. I started getting invested with all the characters. When it came to my favorite, I Love Garbage Man, played by Jason Momoa, I thought his character had a lot of heart. I thought he was actually going through the roughest patch out of any character in this movie because he was a really big deal in 1989. Now he has a video game store that is crumbling. He's about to get evicted and he needs a win. And it's probably because I'm in my 30s that I would identify more with his character and what he was struggling with. But I think through his dialogue and some of his actions and fighting, he came across as a little bit of a corny character. But corny works in this movie. Corny isn't always bad. And I think you need larger than life personalities like Jason Momoa and Jack Black to really pull this movie off. Because I can't really think of any other A-list star who has those comedic chops to make this movie work. And some will watch this movie and say, they gave really awful performances. But I think they did what they needed to do to make this work, to make it resonate with the kids and the young people who are a fan of Minecraft. It's just not for adults. And I thought I could recognize that. I was sold in the story. I was sold into the adventure. I thought it moved along really well, clocking in just over 90 minutes. I think it was like an hour and 33 minutes. For me, it dipped a little bit in Act 2, where that is where I thought they should have had some more exploration with the building. It kind of just became your typical family adventure movie at that point. And I feel like that was the moment for it to really shine and to grab the viewer and take them on this journey and really own what it means to be a Minecraft movie. Because I think this is easily going to spawn a franchise. There's just no question here. It has it written all over it. I think it really easily sets up another movie where I feel this movie just lacked an emotional punch, which I kind of had to put myself back into the perspective of a kid of what I would have wanted out of a movie like this. And the character Henry resonates with me. Being a smarter kid growing up, I was never the smartest kid, but I was always looked at as being like, I want to copy off of that kid's homework because he's pretty smart. I don't think because I was smart was the reason I didn't have friends. I was just socially awkward. But I identified with the character of Henry in that sense of not really fitting into school and just being constantly curious, wanting to create. I really think his character needed a little bit more of a heroic moment to really inspire kids. I just think it came to a point where it felt like, all right, we have to end this movie. Let's just kind of wrap it up here. And for me, it just didn't really hit that home run at the end. It was a fine ending, but out of everything in the film, the ending felt the most generic. But even with that being said, the movie did win me over a lot. This was a case of bad trailer, good movie, which I rather have. The opposite is much worse. When you see a trailer that is so just slick, makes you excited to go watch the movie, and then you go see it and leave so underwhelmed. This was not the case at all. And it's a movie you're going to see online and probably see a lot of negativity around. We've had a lot of those that we've been talking about recently where this narrative starts of how bad it is, and that's all critics fixate on, every review fixates on. But if you actually go watch this movie and experience it and remember what you were like at this age when a movie like this was directed towards you, you would feel that again. So I feel like I've given the best explanation I can of where I struggle at this point in my life, where I still feel like a movie like this is so important. And I value good family friendly adventure movies because they were so impactful to me as a kid, so impressionable at that time. And one of the main reasons I still do this podcast is because I want to see that translate to the next generation. To have movies that, in a world right now where they're grabbing every IP, slapping some A-listers on it and putting it out in theaters and not really caring how it resonates with fans, that movies like this need meaning, they need story, they need character development. You can't just throw it out in the theaters, throw out some cheap merchandise and just try to make a bunch of money off of this IP. This one I feel had a lot of intention behind it, a lot of world building, and maybe in the next one they spend a little bit more money. $150 million is a lot, but I think if we could get it up to $250 million, depending on how well this movie does, which I think it's going to crush. I think by a Minecraft movie 2, the visuals can be so much better. They bring in some more characters, get in some more building in there, and I think this is a great step in the right direction of making great movie video game adaptations because we need them. It is low-key one of my favorite genres. It has inspired me to, at some point in my life, want to go play Minecraft now. So for a Minecraft movie, I give it 3.5 out of 5 lava chickens.